imagine a world 2.8 million years ago where Africa was a continent of endless savannas, where giant hyenas prowled the grasslands, and where a revolutionary species was about to change the course of life on Earth forever. Not modern humans like us, but the first members of our own genus, beings who would pioneer the use of stone tools, expand their brains beyond anything seen before, and set in motion the chain of innovations that would eventually lead to cities, agriculture, and space travel. Their story isn't just about survival, it's about the moment our lineage first transcended the limitations of biology and began the long journey toward becoming truly human. Meet Homo habilis, the handy man. If you're using this to fall asleep, that's literally why I make these. So subscribe maybe and tell me where you are and what time. I check comments, and it's always fun to see where everyone is watching from. What makes the Homo habilis story so extraordinary? They were the first species in human evolution to systematically manufacture stone tools, the first to show significant brain expansion beyond ape-level intelligence, and possibly the first to engage in food sharing and cooperative behaviors that would define human society. For over 1 million years, from 2.8 to 1.65 million years ago, these remarkable beings lived across eastern and southern Africa, slowly developing the technologies and behaviors that would distinguish the human lineage forever. I'm about to take you on a journey through deep time to discover how these ancient pioneers lived, what they looked like, how they thought, and why they represent one of the most crucial transitions in the story of life on Earth. You'll learn why many scientists consider Homo habilis to be the first true humans, despite their small brains and ape-like bodies. They were the species that first crossed the threshold from animal to human, from instinct-driven behavior to cultural innovation. Here's something that will reshape how you think about human evolution. Recent discoveries have revealed that Homo habilis wasn't just making simple stone tools. They were creating implements with standardized designs, using techniques that required years to master, and possibly even teaching these skills to their offspring through methods that resembled primitive forms of education. This represents the birth of cumulative culture, the uniquely human ability to build upon previous generations' innovations rather than starting from scratch with each new generation. Let's put their incredible significance in perspective. Homo habilis appeared around 2.8 million years ago, during a period of dramatic climate change that was transforming Africa's landscapes. As forests shrank and grasslands expanded, these early humans were among the first primates to adapt, not through biological evolution alone, but through technological innovation. They invented solutions to environmental challenges rather than waiting for natural selection to provide them. The discovery of Homo habilis fundamentally changed our understanding of human evolution. When Louis Leakey first announced the species in 1964, based on fossils found at Oldowan Gorge in Tanzania, it challenged the prevailing view that brain enlargement preceded tool use in human evolution. Here was clear evidence of a species with a relatively small brain, about 600 cubic centimeters, roughly twice the size of a chimpanzee, that was nonetheless capable of sophisticated tool manufacture and use. This discovery sparked what became known as man the tool maker hypothesis, the idea that tool use was the driving force behind human evolution, the ability to create and use tools provided such significant survival advantages that it created evolutionary pressure for larger brains, better hand-eye coordination, and more sophisticated social behaviors. Homo habilis represented the first step in this uniquely human evolutionary trajectory. But recent discoveries have revealed that the story is far more complex than early researchers imagined. In 2015, archaeologists working in Kenya announced the discovery of stone tools dating to 3.3 million years ago, over 500,000 years before the first known Homo habilis fossils. These tools, found at a site called Lomekwi 3, suggested that tool use might have preceded the evolution of our genus entirely, possibly originating with earlier species like Australopithecus afarensis. However, these earlier tools are markedly different from those associated with Homo habilis. The Lomekwi tools are large, crude implements created by smashing rocks together with little apparent planning or standardization. In contrast, Homo habilis tools show clear evidence of systematic design, careful selection of raw materials, and manufacturing techniques that required considerable skill and foresight. The difference is so significant that many researchers now draw a distinction between simple tool use, which may have characterized earlier hominins, and true tool manufacture, which appears to have originated with Homo habilis. This distinction reflects not just improved manual dexterity, but a fundamental cognitive leap, the ability to envision a desired end product and work systematically toward creating it. Homo habilis tools, known as the Oldowan industry, represent humanity's first standardized technology. These weren't random modifications of natural objects, but carefully planned implements created according to consistent design principles. The process of making an Oldowan tool required selecting appropriate raw materials, understanding the fracture properties of different stone types, and executing precise sequences of strikes to create sharp edges and functional forms. Archaeological experiments have revealed just how sophisticated this process was. Modern researchers, even with detailed knowledge of Oldowan techniques, require extensive practice to achieve the level of consistency and efficiency evident in ancient tool assemblages. The learning curve is steep, suggesting that Homo habilis had developed methods for transmitting complex technical knowledge between individuals and across generations. Recent analysis of wear patterns on Homo habilis tools has revealed the remarkable diversity of their applications. These early humans were using stone implements to butcher animals, process plant materials, scrape hides, work wood, and possibly even dig for underground resources like tubers and water. This technological versatility provided enormous advantages in the challenging environments of Pliocene Africa. But perhaps most significantly, Homo habilis appears to have been the first species to transport tools over significant distances. Archaeological sites contain tools made from raw materials that originated dozens of kilometers away, indicating that these early humans were either traveling considerable distances to obtain good stone or had developed trade networks for exchanging materials between groups. This represents a level of planning and social organization unprecedented in the natural world. The physical characteristics of Homo habilis reflect their transitional position in human evolution. They retained many ape-like features while also showing the first clear adaptations toward a more human-like body plan. with an average height of about 3 feet 3 inches to 4 feet 3 inches, and weights ranging from 70 to 100 pounds. They were small by modern standards, but significantly larger than their Australopithecine predecessors. Their skulls show the first clear expansion of brain size in the human lineage. While still small compared to modern humans, Homo habilis brains averaged about 600 cubic centimeters, representing a 50% increase over earlier hominins. This expansion wasn't uniform across the brain, but was concentrated in areas associated with tool use, spatial reasoning, and possibly even primitive language capabilities. The shape of Homo habilis skulls also shows important changes from earlier species. The face was less projecting, with smaller teeth and jaws that suggest a shift in dietary habits. The reduction in jaw size may have been related to their use of tools for food processing, reducing the need for powerful chewing muscles and allowing for the expansion of the brain case. Their hands represent one of the most significant evolutionary innovations in the human lineage. Homo habilis possessed precision grip capabilities that allowed for the fine motor control necessary for tool manufacture. Their thumbs were longer and more opposable than those of earlier hominins, and their fingertips showed expanded areas of tactile sensitivity that would have provided crucial feedback during tool-making activities. Analysis of hand bones from sites like Oldowan Gorge reveals a remarkable combination of features. Homo habilis hands were capable of both the precision grips necessary for delicate tool work and the power grips needed for wielding tools forcefully. This versatility represented a crucial adaptation that enabled the full exploitation of stone tool technology. Recent biomechanical analysis has revealed that Homo habilis hands were specifically adapted for the repetitive motions involved in stone tool manufacture. The bones show stress patterns consistent with repeated percussion activities, and the muscle attachment points suggest unusually powerful grip strength. These weren't just general-purpose primate hands, but specialized instruments evolved specifically for technological manipulation. The locomotion of Homo habilis remains somewhat controversial among researchers. They retained long arms and curved fingers that suggest continued adaptation for climbing, indicating they likely spent considerable time in trees. However, their leg bones show clear adaptations for bipedal walking, including changes in hip structure and knee orientation that improved efficiency for ground travel. This combination of arboreal and terrestrial adaptations suggests that Homo habilis occupied a unique ecological niche. They were capable of traveling efficiently across open landscapes while still maintaining access to the safety and resources available in woodland environments. This flexibility would have been crucial during the period of dramatic environmental change that characterized their existence. Recent discoveries have also revealed evidence of sexual dimorphism in Homo habilis, with males being significantly larger than females. This pattern suggests social structures that may have included male competition for mates, and possibly even primitive forms of resource sharing between pair-bonded individuals. The implications for early human social behavior are profound and continue to be actively researched. The dietary habits of Homo habilis represent another crucial transition in human evolution. Unlike earlier hominins, who were primarily vegetarian, Homo habilis shows clear evidence of meat consumption and the use of tools for processing animal carcasses. Cut marks on fossil bones found alongside Homo habilis remains provide direct evidence of butchering activities that would have required sophisticated coordination and planning. However, the extent to which Homo habilis was actively hunting versus scavenging remains debated. Some researchers argue that their small body size and lack of clearly defensive adaptations suggest they were primarily scavengers, using their stone tools to access bone marrow and other nutritious materials from carcasses left by large predators. Others point to evidence of systematic butchering patterns that suggest at least some active hunting of smaller animals. Recent isotope analysis of Homo habilis teeth has provided new insights into their dietary patterns. The chemical signatures preserved in fossil dental enamel suggest a diet that varied significantly based on environmental conditions and seasonal resource availability. During dry periods, Homo habilis appears to have relied more heavily on underground storage organs like tubers, while wet periods saw increased consumption of above-ground plant materials and possibly more frequent access to animal proteins. This dietary flexibility, enabled by their tool technology, provided crucial advantages during the unstable climate conditions of the Pliocene. Rather than being locked into narrow ecological niches like most other primate species, Homo habilis could adapt their subsistence strategies to changing environmental conditions. This flexibility may have been one of the key factors in their evolutionary success. The social behavior of Homo habilis represents another area where they appear to have crossed crucial thresholds toward truly human patterns of interaction. Archaeological evidence suggests they were engaging in food-sharing behaviors that required sophisticated social coordination and possibly even primitive forms of reciprocity and exchange. Sites like FLK Zinj at Oldowan Gorge preserve what appear to be living floors, where Homo habilis individuals brought tools, processed food, and shared resources in ways that suggest group coordination beyond anything seen in other primates. The spatial organization of these sites implies that different activities were carried out in designated areas, possibly indicating the beginnings of the human pattern of creating specialized activity zones within living spaces. Recent analysis of these archaeological sites has revealed evidence of what researchers call central place foraging, the practice of bringing resources back to a home base for processing and sharing rather than consuming them where they were found. This behavioral pattern requires sophisticated planning abilities and social coordination that represents a significant departure from typical primate foraging strategies. The implications of central place foraging for early human evolution are enormous. This strategy would have encouraged the development of food-sharing networks, division of labor between group members, and potentially even primitive forms of specialization, where different individuals focused on different types of resource procurement. These behavioral innovations laid the groundwork for the complex social structures that would characterize later human evolution. Evidence from sites like Oldowan Gorge also suggests that Homo habilis may have been constructing simple shelters or windbreaks. Circular arrangements of stones found at several sites may represent the foundations of primitive structures designed to provide protection from weather and predators. While these constructions were far simpler than the elaborate shelters built by later human species, they represent the first evidence of environmental modification for comfort and safety, rather than simple resource procurement. The cognitive capabilities of Homo habilis continue to be actively researched and debated among scientists. Their relatively small brain size suggests that their mental capabilities were still quite limited compared to later human species, but their sophisticated tool technologies and social behaviors indicate cognitive abilities that significantly exceeded those of other primates. Recent analysis of Oldowan tool assemblages has revealed evidence of what researchers call technological traditions, consistent patterns of tool manufacture that persisted over long periods and across wide geographic areas. The maintenance of these traditions required not just individual tool-making skills, but also effective methods for transmitting knowledge between individuals and across generations. This cultural transmission represents one of the most significant innovations in the history of life on Earth. While other animals use tools and some even modify them for specific purposes, Homo habilis was the first species to develop cumulative cultural traditions where innovations could be preserved, refined, and passed down through generations. This ability to build upon previous knowledge rather than starting from scratch represents the foundation of all subsequent human technological development. Studies of modern tool-making traditions in hunter-gatherer societies have revealed just how complex the knowledge systems underlying even simple stone tool technologies can be. Effective tool manufacture requires understanding of raw material properties, fracture mechanics, functional design principles, and often sophisticated knowledge of local geology for finding appropriate stone sources. The fact that Homo habilis developed and maintained such knowledge systems with brains less than half the size of modern humans suggests remarkable cognitive efficiency. Some researchers have proposed that Homo habilis may have possessed primitive forms of language or at least sophisticated gestural communication systems. The coordination required for group tool-making activities, the transmission of technical knowledge, and the complex social behaviors evident in the archaeological record would have benefited enormously from enhanced communication capabilities. Analysis of Homo habilis skull anatomy has revealed some intriguing hints about their communication abilities. The areas of the brain associated with hand control and vocalization show expansion compared to earlier hominins, possibly indicating the development of more sophisticated motor control systems that could have supported both tool use and communication. However, the evidence remains circumstantial, and the extent of Homo habilis communication capabilities remains unknown. The geographic distribution of Homo habilis provides important insights into their adaptive capabilities and dispersal patterns. Fossils have been found across eastern and southern Africa, from sites in Kenya and Tanzania to locations in South Africa over 2,000 kilometers away. This wide distribution suggests that Homo habilis was capable of adapting to diverse environmental conditions and establishing viable populations across a range of habitats. Recent dating of Homo habilis sites has revealed that the species persisted for over 1 million years, from approximately 2.8 to 1.65 million years ago. This remarkable longevity indicates that their adaptive strategies were highly successful for the environmental conditions of Pliocene and early Pleistocene Africa. They successfully navigated multiple climate cycles and environmental changes that eliminated many other species. The end of the Homo habilis lineage coincides with the appearance of more advanced human species like Homo erectus, who possessed larger brains, more sophisticated tool technologies, and eventually expanded beyond Africa to colonize other continents. However, rather than being simply replaced by superior competitors, current evidence suggests that Homo habilis may have been ancestral to these later species, contributing directly to the ongoing evolution of the human lineage. Recent fossil discoveries have complicated our understanding of early human evolution by revealing that multiple human-like species coexisted during the time period when Homo habilis lived. Species like Australopithecus garhi, Homo rudolfensis, and early Homo erectus all show evidence of overlapping geographic ranges and time periods, suggesting that early human evolution was characterized by a complex adaptive radiation rather than simple linear progression. This pattern of multiple coexisting species raises fascinating questions about interactions between different human lineages. Did they compete for resources? Did they interbreed? Did they share technological innovations? While direct evidence for such interactions is limited, the archaeological record shows clear evolution and diversification of tool technologies during this period, suggesting that innovation and cultural exchange may have been accelerated by contact between different human populations. The tool technologies associated with Homo habilis show clear evolutionary development over time. Early Oldowan assemblages are relatively simple and show considerable variation in manufacturing techniques. Later assemblages show increasing standardization and sophistication, with more efficient manufacturing methods and more specialized tool types. This technological evolution parallels the biological evolution evident in the fossil record and suggests coevolution between cognitive capabilities and technological complexity. One of the most intriguing aspects of Homo habilis evolution is the apparent acceleration of both biological and cultural change during their existence. The rate of brain expansion during the Homo habilis time period exceeds that of any other period in human evolution, while simultaneously their tool technologies show rapid innovation and diversification. This suggests that biological and cultural evolution were reinforcing each other in positive feedback loops that accelerated the pace of change. Recent research has focused on understanding the environmental factors that may have driven Homo habilis evolution. The period of their existence was characterized by significant climate variability, with alternating wet and dry cycles that would have created fluctuating resource availability and habitat fragmentation. These challenging conditions may have favored individuals with enhanced cognitive flexibility and technological capabilities, driving the evolution of larger brains and more sophisticated tool use. The variability selection hypothesis proposes that environmental instability was a key driver of human evolution, favoring adaptations that provided flexibility rather than specialization for specific environmental conditions. Homo habilis appears to fit this model perfectly, with their technological capabilities providing adaptive flexibility that allowed them to respond to changing environmental conditions through cultural rather than biological adaptation. Analysis of paleo-environmental data from Homo habilis sites has revealed the remarkable diversity of habitats they occupied. From lakeside environments rich in aquatic resources to woodland savannas with abundant plant and animal foods, Homo habilis demonstrated an ecological versatility that far exceeded that of other contemporary primates. This habitat diversity was made possible by their technological capabilities, which allowed them to exploit resources that would have been inaccessible to other species. The success of Homo habilis in diverse environments also provides insights into their social organization and group dynamics. The ability to establish viable populations across such a wide range of habitats suggests that they possessed effective mechanisms for cultural transmission and social coordination that allowed them to maintain adaptive behaviors even as they expanded into new environments. Recent studies have also examined the role of Homo habilis in the broader ecosystem dynamics of Pliocene Africa. Their tool use and meat processing capabilities may have had significant effects on local ecosystems, potentially influencing predator-prey relationships and nutrient cycling patterns. Some researchers have proposed that early human tool use represents the beginning of significant human environmental impact, though at scales far smaller than those characteristic of later periods. The legacy of Homo habilis extends far beyond their direct contributions to human evolution. They pioneered the technological approach to environmental adaptation that would become the hallmark of the human lineage. Rather than waiting for biological evolution to provide solutions to environmental challenges, they developed the capacity to create cultural solutions that could be implemented within individual lifetimes and transmitted to subsequent generations. This transition from purely biological to biocultural evolution represents one of the most significant transitions in the history of life on Earth. It enabled the human lineage to accelerate adaptive change by orders of magnitude compared to purely biological evolution, eventually leading to the rapid cultural evolution that characterizes modern human societies. The stone tool traditions pioneered by Homo habilis persisted for over 2.5 million years, making them the most enduring technologies in human history. While the specific forms and manufacturing techniques evolved considerably over time, the basic principles of stone tool manufacture established by Homo habilis continued to be used until the development of metal technologies in recent millennia. Recent experimental archaeology has revealed the remarkable efficiency and effectiveness of Oldowan tool technologies. When used by skilled practitioners, these simple stone implements can accomplish a remarkable range of tasks, from butchering large animals to processing tough plant materials to working wood and other organic materials. The technological foundation established by Homo habilis was so effective that it continued to meet human needs for millions of years. The social innovations pioneered by Homo habilis may have been even more significant than their technological achievements. The food-sharing, central place foraging, and cultural transmission systems they developed provided the foundation for the complex social cooperation that would characterize later human evolution. These behavioral innovations enabled the development of increasingly sophisticated societies that could support larger populations and more complex technologies. Modern studies of hunter-gatherer societies have revealed the crucial importance of social cooperation and cultural transmission for human adaptive success. The fact that these systems can be traced back to Homo habilis suggests that the fundamental basis of human sociality was established very early in our evolutionary history and has remained remarkably stable despite enormous changes in technology and environment. The study of Homo habilis continues to provide crucial insights into the nature of human uniqueness and the evolutionary processes that shaped our lineage. As new fossils are discovered and new analytical techniques are developed, our understanding of these remarkable early humans continues to evolve. Recent advances in ancient DNA analysis, isotope geochemistry, and computational modeling promise to provide even more detailed insights into their lives and behaviors. One of the most significant recent developments in Homo habilis research has been the recognition of their role as ecosystem engineers, organisms that modify their environment in ways that affect other species. Through their tool use and resource processing activities, Homo habilis began the process of environmental modification that would eventually lead to the massive human environmental impact characteristic of modern times. The cognitive capabilities that enabled Homo habilis to develop and maintain technological traditions also laid the groundwork for the symbolic thinking and complex communication systems that would characterize later human evolution. While they may not have possessed language in the modern sense, their ability to transmit complex technical knowledge suggests sophisticated information processing and communication capabilities that bridged the gap between animal communication and human language. Recent research has also highlighted the role of Homo habilis in establishing the human pattern of extended childhood and intensive parental investment. The complexity of their tool technologies would have required extended learning periods, possibly leading to delayed maturation and increased dependence on adult care and instruction. This pattern of extended development would have profound implications for brain evolution and social organization in later human species. The remarkable success of Homo habilis over more than 1 million years demonstrates the power of the biocultural adaptive strategy they pioneered. By combining biological evolution with cultural innovation, they achieved levels of adaptive flexibility and environmental mastery that enabled them to thrive through dramatic climate changes and environmental challenges that eliminated many other species. Their legacy lives on not just in the fossil record, but in the fundamental adaptive strategies that continue to characterize human societies today. The combination of technological innovation, social cooperation, and cultural transmission that enabled Homo habilis to thrive in Pliocene Africa provides the foundation for all subsequent human achievements, from agriculture and cities to science and space exploration. As we reflect on the extraordinary journey of Homo habilis, we gain perspective on the deep evolutionary roots of human uniqueness. These remarkable early humans, with their small brains and simple tools, nonetheless crossed crucial thresholds that distinguished the human lineage forever. They were the first to transcend the limitations of biology through technology, the first to develop cumulative cultural traditions, and the first to establish the patterns of social cooperation that would enable all subsequent human achievements. The story of Homo habilis reminds us that human evolution has been characterized not by sudden leaps, but by gradual accumulation of innovations that eventually transformed our lineage in fundamental ways. They may seem primitive by modern standards, but Homo habilis possessed the essential characteristics that define humanity: the ability to innovate, the capacity to share knowledge, and the intelligence to adapt to changing circumstances through cultural rather than biological means. In studying these remarkable ancestors, we gain insights not just into our evolutionary past, but into the fundamental nature of human adaptation and innovation. The challenges they faced and the solutions they developed provide lessons that remain relevant as our own species confronts unprecedented environmental and social challenges in the modern world. The legacy of Homo habilis extends beyond their direct contributions to human evolution to encompass their role as pioneers of the technological approach to environmental adaptation that would eventually transform the planet. They were the first species to demonstrate that intelligence and culture could provide alternatives to biological evolution as mechanisms for environmental adaptation, beginning the process that would eventually lead to human domination of Earth's ecosystems. Their story is ultimately one of innovation, cooperation, and persistence in the face of environmental challenges. For over 1,000,000 years, these remarkable early humans developed and refined the technological and social innovations that would form the foundation of all subsequent human achievement. They were truly the first travelers on the long journey from animal to human, and their legacy continues to shape our species today.